So what's it like to interview at TikTok? Well, if you look online, probably 85, maybe even 90% of the feedback is that, yeah, it's a terrible interviewing experience and don't do it, it's not worth your time. And the other 10% who actually got the job, they are pretty optimistic about it and say it's a startup-like culture. So there's, needless to say, there's a lot of bias in how people look at hiring in this company. Now, what's more interesting here probably would be to talk about the hiring structure and how can you eventually take advantage a little bit of these things, and then I'll touch upon the mission and their 6 core values. Now, the structure of the hiring process is pretty standard in the sense that they have 1 or 2 phone screening rounds, usually with HR and probably with someone from your future team, followed by the on-site, interviews via Zoom. There can be anywhere from 2 to 6 sessions, depending on the seniority of the role and depending also on their emphasis on how important this role is for them. Again, these will be consecutive rounds, and then hopefully, one last round into which we'll discuss the job offer. So it's a pretty standard process. Now, what's interesting about it is what's not so standard about hiring at TikTok. One thing would be that aside from the bias, that everyone's saying, they don't do hiring well, which I don't believe you should take seriously. It should be that they don't tell you who you will be interviewing with in advance. And I don't think this is a huge deal. In fact, I think that they don't even know this themselves. So you should know that. I mean, it's a fast-paced environment. They're hiring a lot, so probably the things change a lot as well in there. But they do put a lot of emphasis on the hiring process. They do have members of your future team interviewing you. It's a behavioral interview for I would say the vast majority of the roles as well. It's a modern day interview. Now, if it's not the most structured interview in the world, I don't believe that's such a significant factor. Now, how long does it take to go through such an interview? I believe that's not the right question. I believe the right question is how interested are they to fill in the role that you're applying for, and this could be from 1 week to 3 months as a general rule. And given these times, it could even go further than that because there are complications with various visa applications and all that stuff for international candidates. So this would be on the interview process. And by the way, if HR is slow to reply, keep in mind that's common practice everywhere, right? So it's not something specific to TikTok or anyone else. It's just that some HR people are slower to reply than others. And maybe one last thing here is I've also read online that they are late in the interview. They are maybe 5 minutes late. Well, guess what? They have the upper hand here. So your best approach here would be to act as polite, as diplomatic, and to build the best rapport possible with them. Because after all, the more you earn their trust, the better your chances to go through this interview. So this would be about the interviewing process and briefly on how you touch upon these things. Now, what about the company mission, which I do believe you should read and remember in advance. The company mission is TikTok is the leading destination for short-form mobile video. Our mission is to inspire creativity and bring joy. I think this is a pretty interesting mission. It's pretty self-explanatory, but you should keep it in mind for the job interview because it's not unheard of that they will ask you, do you know what's our mission for these things? Now, I won't insist on the mission because I don't believe there's much to say about this, but I'd rather talk about their values, which I have a couple of notes on. And by the way, this is from ByteDance website. The first one is aim for the highest. Aim for the highest, it's pretty standard, nothing out of the ordinary. But if you read the description, raise the bar, wait for bigger gains. Raise the bar, well, that's pretty standard practice here. But they will basically what they should tell you that they are more inclined to test you for high quality, to insist on the highest standards, if you want. So maybe also look up a little bit on how can an employer test you on high standards. There are a couple of questions a couple of questions that are more likely you will get asked in an interview if they want to test how you can insist on the highest standards here. The second one, be grounded and courageous. Make your own decisions, dig deep, stay level-headed, focus on impact. Assume ownership, take risks, break the mold, rapid iterations, multiple possibilities. So there's a ton of information here. So I believe that the more you keep, the one way to go about remembering these things is by their headlines. And then, trying to remember the one that you found the best, the one that you connect the best with. And you can go even one step further. What would be that one core competency or even one success, one major success that connects very well with these values? Because if you find that, you will be able to touch upon also on the question, what's your favorite value from our 6 core values, but also when talking about yourself, or also why TikTok, you could also use this information there. Be open and humble, trust yourself, trust each other. Trust is a huge topic in this job. It's all about building trust, in my opinion, with this company, especially with startups. Be candid and clear, dare to share your honest opinions. It's okay to make mistakes, own it when you do. This is, a reference. It's okay to make mistakes to failure stories in behavioral interviews. So if you don't know anything about failure stories, try to look up a little bit on my YouTube channel. Always day one. Take initiative and push boundaries. There's no risk. There's no task too big or too small. Be resilient, face reality, and change it. Always think like day one. So the first one was with raise the bar. Then they talk about ownership. Now they talk about always day one. This is very much like the Amazon's 14 leadership principles, if you know about this. So it's the same culture, the same culture that they want to instill as they have with Amazon. It's just that they are not as advanced as Amazon, because these things take years to figure out. So in my opinion, if you want a thorough preparation for the behavioral interview, is the one that you would also want to imply for an Amazon interview, although I would argue that that's pretty much overkill for most roles. But if you want to go the best route to prepare for a behavioral interview, I would recommend you the Amazon principles, which are also pretty, there are 14. So this tells you a lot about the content there. And by the way, the last one is champion diversity and inclusion. And to my surprise, there's a spelling mistake right on their website. Seek out views that challenge your own to create mutual respect and true appreciation for differences. So this was actually quite surprising to me that I found a spelling mistakes on ByteDance's website on their core values. So it means they are still in the beginning with these core values and leadership principles and mission. So in my opinion, the best takeaway here should be that you should pick one that you find the best and try to exploit it throughout your interview process, even if they don't ask you what's your favorite value. I don't think they will ask you this because, as I said, if they have spelling mistakes on their website with these things, I don't believe they put that much emphasis. Their mission, yes, it's pretty cool. I believe that one was established well before they did the values, but the values are something that they must work on. So these would be, the elements, the interview process, the culture and values you would want to keep in mind. And I believe the main objective with this video is to be informative, to prepare you going into a job interview with them, also on the behavioral side, on the culture side of things, because this is something always useful to know, and this is something that might ask you them as a startup, hey, how interested is this person in in knowing our company? So there you go. I hope you found this information useful, and thank you very much for watching.